After years of diplomatic strain, Prime Minister Mark Carney visited Saudi Arabia this week to strengthen bilateral ties.
We are building partnerships with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Canadian and Saudi businesses have signed 13 new commercial agreements across education, critical minerals and mining, energy, infrastructure, security, artificial intelligence. We're aiming to conclude negotiations with Saudi Arabia for a foreign investment promotion and protection agreement by the first quarter of next year.
The Conservatives, however, are criticizing Ottawa's deals with Saudi Arabia as nothing more than memorandums of understanding that are non-binding. I'm joined now by Conservative Foreign Affairs critic Eric Duncan. Mr. Duncan, it's good to see you, sir. Thank you for your time today.
Good to be with you.
You've criticized what the Prime Minister announced coming out of his meeting with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia because it's a non-binding memorandum of understanding. What were you expecting to see out of this meeting with the Saudi leader?
I think we're expecting to see just more tangible results and things that Canadians can point to that actually change the needle when it comes to the bilateral relationship. The one part of the MOU yesterday was creating a new council that's going to continue to have conversations and discussions about ways they can deepen ties. I think Canadians were expecting on this visit a bit more tangible substance about ways that it could actually be done. So we've seen this before. This is not new with the Prime Minister on his trips around the world over the course of the last year and a bit. They signed these MOUs, which again are non-binding. They're aspirational documents. And when it actually comes to the follow-up on some of these, that's where the challenge is. So if I were to give a compliment today, I say the Liberals are the best at announcements and the photo ops and all these signing ceremonies. But when it comes to the follow-through, that's where it leaves something to be desired, in my opinion.
Okay, this was the first official visit to Saudi Arabia by a Canadian Prime Minister in a quarter of a century. Relations have not been good there for the past decade or so, and the Crown Prince has been a bit of an international pariah for basically being implicated in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist. So how could you have something fully formed when that dynamic in the relationship between the two countries is the backdrop for this, that if you're going to get them to come here to go to the investment summit, which is one of the things that came out of this meeting, it's got to start somewhere, doesn't it? Like, can it really be more tangible than what it was?
Well, agreed that things are, well, I'd say Saudi Arabia is a key partner in the region, particularly with everything going on in Iran right now, and how they're destabilizing the situation in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is going to be a key partner in this. But what I say, though, is there's been an opportunity. The Prime Minister has talked about building these relationships and moving at speeds, unimaginable speeds not seen in generations. I just think there's an opportunity for more substance in some of these agreements that would come through, as opposed to a new council and things that can go on there. So I'll give you the example. It was the Financial Times that reported this week about the deal with the UAE. They signed a deal to much fanfare, and then it turns out whenever there was $70 billion ready to be invested by the country, there was not a single project ready to go that could have been offered to tap into that. So it just goes to show the gap between signing these agreements and actually getting shovels in the ground and moving the needle on things.
Right. I was doing some follow-up reading on that Financial Times story, and it was in the Toronto Sun, I think today, where they're talking about how Canada had no idea the UAE was going to put the $70 billion on the table. They offered it up, and from November to now, it wasn't enough time to be ready for it, but maybe by the investment summit, that could be when it happens in September, right? So, I mean, they are trying to create the catalog of projects for that kind of money, but can you do it as quickly as you're suggesting? Does that seem viable?
Again, I'll put the Prime Minister's words right out here that he has said he wanted to move at unimaginable speeds not seen in generations. And so it's been a year. The Major Projects Office, we passed that legislation in good faith to say, look, if this is the tool that you say the Liberals need to move forward, we voted in favor of it to get it going. And here it was a year later, not a single project. There are 500 projects lined up for queue for approval in the Major Projects Office, and they couldn't even name one. So I think that speaks volumes just about the pace of what the Prime Minister had promised Canadians about moving the man with a plan, moving at unimaginable speed. This is certainly not a speed that I think is the Canadians are expecting or finding acceptable. So I think, and I also say at the same point too, the investment climate in our country, when it comes to some of the anti-development laws that are still on the books, you've got C-69, C-48, and you've got red tape. We have a taxation I think some complexities there that doesn't make Canada the most ideal place for direct foreign investment right now. And the numbers are showing it too. Canada's seen business capital investment decline now for 5 straight quarters. So David, I argue between all these signing announcements and all these billions of dollars to come, when you look at the actual numbers from Stats Canada over the course of the last 5 quarters, it doesn't show that they're yielding results yet.
Well, look, I don't think you can dismiss the impact that what Donald Trump has done on the trade front and disrupting the global economy with a series of choices by the U.S. president, that's a big reason why capital investment is down everywhere. People are sitting on it during uncertainty, right? I mean, that's what happens in these moments. But I want to ask about something else because, okay, so the MOU, look, the Prime Minister will have to answer for the speed promise because he has managed expectations quite high. And speed in mega projects may be different than what people think of when they think of speed, right? But this week when they announced the subs, your party put out a statement calling it a fake announcement. So everything is meaningless and everything is fake. I mean, the Prime Minister of Norway, the Chancellor of Germany, they were all part of this celebration of this announcement at the NATO summit. I mean, is it fair to say these things are fake when other NATO members, EU members, G7 members are celebrating agreements like the sub purchase?
I think what we're calling out here is how very early on it is in the process for all this. And the way the announcement was made, it looked like they were coming tomorrow inevitably, or how far along the process has gone. The Liberals made a decision on it, but we are still years and years away. There's still many other steps and processes. And when we look back on the record, the track record of the Liberals when it comes to procurement, it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of the timeline, the process, in managing the budget and the timeline on these things. So I think the reality is what the announcement is, it's still a very infinite early stage. There's still a lot to go through and a lot of hoops to go through on this. So making it look like it was a done deal and so forth. And I think that's where the criticism we have on that, where it's still going to be a very long way out yet for that to come to fruition, to come to reality, and a lot of challenges the Liberals are going to have to overcome themselves to deliver it on time and on budget.
But, you know, Mr. Duncan, if you bid on a house and your bid is accepted, there's still work to do before it's finalized, but it's real. It's not fake. I mean, Norway and Germany are not participating in a fake photo op about submarines. There are thousands of pages of commercial documents that have been circulating between the partners with the commitments there. I mean, this is a real thing. It's not a final thing. They've still got to go over the fine print and come to a final understanding. But to say it is a fake announcement, I mean, is that the right term for the criticism you're using? Is that a fair criticism?
I think what is I think what top of the fake is the timeline wise of how it's actually when it's going to come to fruition and how it's going to come to fruition. It's still going to take a very long time to do. And again, based on the Liberal record of procurement, again, for the last 11 years, that's what we're basing the record on when it comes to the timelines and comes to the budgets. It's going to be a challenge for them, I think, to meet some of these things. So it's very early in the process for this. There's a lot of hoops that they have to go through to actually, and again, it's a bit more complicated than buying a house. And argue that for sure. But I think at the end of the day, they're just not moving at the pace that was promised in a lot of cases, or in a lot of things too. They're giving the impression that it's much further along than what it actually is.
But how do you get subs faster than what they've done? I mean, they promised a timeline for the announcement. They made it within days of the announcement. There's no Costco for submarines where you can go get a 12-pack of subs, right? These things take years to build, and Norway and Germany have let them move up in the production process to get some boats earlier. I mean, how do you do it faster than this?
Well, again, I think one of the things too is you talk about the financial aspect of it and the financial impacts about how it's going to be paid for. As an example, that information was not provided this week as part of the information, part of the announcement. The easy part, I say, in public life is telling people how you're going to spend money. The hard part is how you're going to pay for it all. And so again, even when we talk about the announcement and the preparedness and our financial commitments to paying for some of these things, what was missing this week was the financial details. The parliamentary budget officer has been looking for it. Conservatives have been looking for it about how it's going to be paid for and the timeframes that could tell a lot on this as well. So again, it's a step in the process, but it's still a long way off to being completed. And more importantly than anything, they're not being transparent. A lot of the financial information obligations they're having about how it's going to be paid for in the fiscal framework.
Right. No, that is a good point. The Prime Minister did say it's in the fiscal framework, but nobody can really point you to it. I think we have to wait maybe until the fall budget, and if it's not there, then that'll raise a whole bunch of other questions. Look, before I let you go, there has been this outburst of conservative on conservative kind of fighting this week that you've seen. Mr. Poilievre's comments about liberal lobbyists referencing people like Ben Woodfindon and Anthony Kosh and Corey Tonight, who worked for Caroline Elliott and lost to Kerry Lynn Findlay in the BC leadership race. Caroline Elliott's pushed back on that, and now people are writing op-eds in papers like the National Post. What do you make of this? You know, how much of a problem is this right now for your party, and what does it say about Mr. Poilievre's security as leader of the party?
Well, I think what it says, or what I see and what I hear on the ground, I should say, when I talk to federal conservatives or provincial conservatives, is that we're united behind a common message and the theme that I know can resonate with Canadians. And that's our top three priorities that we launched this summer: affordability, affordability, affordability. So the conservatives that I speak to in my network are united around that message, whether they're in government and going against the Liberals or NDP. That's what people are focused on that way. People are united behind the goal. They're united behind Pierre as the leader. We went through the leadership review earlier this year, and Pierre got a very solid number that way. I think he has a very strong standing in our party. But I think at the end of the day, what people are focused on are trying to get results out of the Liberals here federally and aiming our direction that way.
But do you think it's helpful for your leader to sort of make comments that draw this sort of pushback from people like Caroline Elliott, who got 49% of the vote in the BC Conservative leadership? I mean, is that a helpful thing for him to be doing?
I look at it. I don't get into the backgrounds of the politics and all this. I think what is important, what Pierre's been speaking about all summer long, being out and around, is affordability, talking about the millions of Canadians that are at food banks that are struggling. People are struggling to afford their mortgages and basic housing costs. That's what he spent the majority of his time talking on, connecting with Canadians and being in every part of this country going out. That's been the main part that we've been talking about. Affordability has been our main focus, and it's going to continue to be in the months and years ahead. I have a feeling that Canadians are going to resonate with that message as they look at their pocketbook, and they look at their family budget. Life is not getting better under the Liberals. The price of groceries continues to spiral out of control and be a very frustrating line item on families' budgets. That's what people care about, and that's exactly what we're going to keep focusing on.
Eric Duncan, Conservative Foreign Affairs critic. We appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us, sir. Have a good summer if we don't talk again.
Thanks for having me. All the best.